By now, King Parakramabahu has been thrown ruler of Dakkinadesh. He has launched a risky attack on the land of Rajarata and has been betrayed by his ally Mahávan, who has run rampage in the newly conquered land and is insistent on humiliating its citizenry. His old protector King Gajabahu has been taken prisoner and from within the darkness of his prison cell has sent a cry for help to Parakramabahu. Parakramabahu once again sends his most trusted ally Rakka to topple the errant Mahávan. Seeing an opportunity, Gajabahu attempts to win back his kingdom too. These dual retaliations spawn a series of brutal battles that would ravage the once beautiful city of Polonnaruwa. The fighting reaches a peak, devastating the lands and people of Rajarata, but even Parakramabahu realizes that it will be a Pyrrhic victory. Buddhist clergy intervene, as they have done so many times before in Lanka, and establish a concord between a relatively young Parakramabahu and the aging Gajabahu. The treaty promises Rajarata to Parakramabahu at the time of Gajabahu's death. And so, Parakramabahu returns to Dakkinadesh, waiting for the death of his old friend. Gajabahu spends his last few years in peace and happiness, and Mahávan escapes back to Ruhuna. This is the calm before the storm. By now, Parakramabahu had developed Dakkinadesh into a small empire of some prosperity and strength. But the treacherous Mahávan does not waste a single second. Upon invitation of some of Gajabahu's generals who inform him of an ailing and weakened king, he immediately sets off to claim Rajarata for himself, breaking the peace treaty so carefully forged. Parakramabahu has had enough. One betrayal was too much. A second is unforgivable. He assembles a mighty army against Mahávan. The defeat was crippling. Mahávan escapes taking the Buddha's relics with him to Ruhuna, where he becomes depressed and ill. On his deathbed, he would tell his son to never oppose King Parakramabahu. But Parakramabahu is no ordinary man. He ponders about how far he has come and how as a young, fatherless boy, his uncle adopted and groomed him for kingship. To show good faith with Ruhuna, Parakramabahu takes the young prince, as destiny would have it, named Kittisiri after Parakramabahu's guardian uncle, under his own tutelage and guardianship. Meanwhile, King Gajabahu also dies, leaving an unorthodox legacy. As a devotee of the goddess Pattini worshipped by Buddhists and Hindus alike, they were considered a cult by more mainstream monks. During his reign, he invited many non-Buddhist settlers into Rajarata, sponsoring the development of their shrines and weakening his hold on the land, which left him vulnerable to invasion. With Mayarata and Rajarata under his command, Parakramabahu had but one foe remaining, Queen Sugula of Ruhuna, mother to Mahávan, aunt to Parakramabahu, the first official female monarch in Lanka, with the relics of Buddha in her possession. She is truly courageous, and we will tell her story one day. Sugula refused to hand over the relics of Buddha at Parakramabahu's request. She built battle fortifications and even blocked the routes to Rajarata. She gathered her people, organizing multiple rebellions against what was an imminent and hostile takeover of Ruhuna. The people of Ruhuna were fiercely loyal to their queen. Parakramabahu once again sends the trusted general Rakka to crush Sugula's rebellion. But Sugula would not go down easily. In fact, she proves to be a more formidable opponent than Mahávan or Gajabahu ever was. But this was not all the king with the enemy-crushing arms would have to contend with. As a sideshow, seeing Parakramabahu distracted and Rajarata unprotected, an army of mercenaries from Kerala launch an assault to take over the kingdom. This was a short-lived mission and a bad idea in general. Back at the battlefront, Parakramabahu's brave general Rakka is overwhelmed and is killed by Sugula's troops. Parakramabahu's heart is broken and his patience finally wears out. He sends another one of his trusted generals, Tamiladikarin, to finish the fight that Rakka started, and he orders the troops to recover the relics as soon as they are claimed. Sugula's fortifications weaken, and she loses the front lines. She is forced to hide in the wilderness of Ruhuna, where she is captured and taken prisoner to Polonnaruwa. Damiladikarin hunts down every single rebel leader and their supporters and publicly executes them. Their heads are displayed on pikes in the center of the city, an unmistakable message to all those who might oppose King Parakramabahu. Garrisons are posted in the various districts and a stable government is established. The Principality of Ruhuna is put in charge of the Adhikarin Bhuta, a governor of sorts. Finally, with a unified Ruhuna, Mayarata, Dakkinadesh and Rajarata under his command, King Parakramabahu became the supreme leader of Lanka. And to display his right to rule, he built a temple to safeguard the relics of Buddha. King Parakramabahu had finally reached his ultimate goal. He now has a large swathe of land to preside over. Economists have speculated as to the extent of his policies, and we refer to the excellent analysis by Dr. W.A. Wijewardena on the economic policies of Parakramabahu. At the time, it is said that Parakramabahu wished to emulate Kautilya and practiced a form of state capitalism. Enterprises were controlled by the state and generated revenues to the king. In his course of study, he had to be mindful of loss-making state enterprises even then, and ineffective and potentially corrupt officers who would watch over these enterprises. One of the major sources of revenue for the king was the sale of alcohol. King Parakramabahu bought cheap and sold to the citizenry. The activity was considered to be virtuous as the king could control the drunkenness of his subjects. Lanka was an exporter and a major trading point in gems, ivory, pearls and spices. Parakramabahu certainly would have had a hand in these enterprises and even taxed their trade. His traders were treated to great comforts when they arrived on the shores of Lanka, and he did business with many countries. Archaeologists have dug up coins from China, Bengal, Egypt and as far away as Greece. His public servants had to learn the languages of their trading partners. According to legend, they spoke various Indian languages, Burmese and even Chinese. Lanka was by now a prosperous trading point. It had inventories from major partners stockpiled, and Parakramabahu had executed sophisticated trade agreements with many nations. Catch us next week to find out how old friendships turn hostile and the relationship between Lanka and Burma changed forever.